Welcome back, everybody. It is your host with all the most. It is me, Thriller, and we are back for the BBL Season 12, Week 5 Pickems. And as you're going to see, we have a lot of changes to discuss. Now, obviously, these games have probably been transactions that have been played throughout the weeks of Week 4 and onward. But like I said, we've already recorded the Week 4 transactions, so therefore I don't know about these changes until they were updated. So, with that being said, we're going to go ahead and break down these matches and talk about the transactions that would happen. So what we're going to do is we're going to discuss the transactions first off and kind of go if they were good transactions or not, and then we'll talk about the matchup. So I'll make sure there is at least a separate card that does talk about the transactions, and then into starting the talking of the teams. Also, I might not do timestamps for the team things. Those are just a lot to do, and these videos are going to get at least an hour plus. So that's a lot of extra work, and I kind of don't really want to put in that much. But if you guys really want to see those timestamps for those teams, let me know in the comment section below, and I will be willing to do that for you going forward. I know I was kind of starting it, but then, like I said, I got just bored doing it. So, but if you guys really want it, I will do it. But with that being said, if you guys are excited for this week of the BBL, definitely hit that like button if you haven't already. Subscribe if you're new. Join the crew today because you're the only king of the crew. Definitely don't forget to check out Jay Ricky. I know Jay Ricky has not been able to do any of his analyst content just yet, but he is definitely going to be doing it. And I'm going to keep putting a link down in the description for his channel so you can watch his content on that. And more importantly, just subscribe to him. He's handsome. He's gorgeous. He is an awesome guy. And then definitely make sure you're checking out every single coach down below this season as they are putting on the work to make some fire videos for you this season. So let's talk about the transactions as we go on. So first off, Ant. He dropped Palmont for Don Fan. Now, personally speaking, I think this was a really good pickup because Palmont was your only electric resist on the team, which definitely kind of caused an issue. It also looks like he picked up Quillfish, which I don't remember him picking up beforehand. But I guess Quillfish is also a new member of the team. I don't remember Quillfish though, unless Quillfish was there last week on the Week 4 Pick'ems video before the transactions. I don't know. But basically, get to the point of it, right? So Stonejourner's gone, which is sad. F's in the chat for Stonejourner. But so Quillfish and Dogman, I do think the Quillfish pickup was a much needed pickup. Like this was the perfect pickup that Ant needed to make his team a lot better, in my personal opinion. Because like without it, he really struggled to really get that chip damage for stuff for KYUREM, which you know, based on how it's been performing, it's not been the greatest, but it's still a good Pokemon. And it just needed that best support, and I do think getting the actions with Spikes to Quillfish definitely adds up for it. I also think getting rid of the Palmont for Donphan, really weird choice, but he did not have any electric immunities. He only had resistance, and I think getting an actual electric immunity is really important in draft. And more importantly, he picked up a spinner so that way Scizor is not forced to be a defogger every single week, which is a massively huge for Scizor because he's been proven to be Scizor to be more of a great offensive breaker. And being able to not have to worry about being defogged really opens up the more gates for Scizor to be more offensive, which I think is really great. Overall, I think this was some good transactions for Ant's team. We'll see how he does going forward, and we'll move with that. Up next, we have Shuckle King, who got rid of Hariyama, which might have to minus some points there. Hariyama was goaded. I don't know why he got rid of it. But he picks up Delphox, which gives him a lot more speed. His team is completely speedy now. And I will say it's actually a little less bulkier. Now, I know the Quilladin should be recognized, but I'm not going to recognize Quilladin. He's bad. But it's a very interesting choice here, right? Like, it's a really cool, interesting aspect. The Delphox doesn't win on the speed. It gives him Healing Wish, which is interesting. But again, his team is extremely hyper fast. Like, it has got only two Mons that are slow, and both Mons have decent speed as well. So it's going to be interesting to see how Shuckle pilots like a super hyper fast team. But we'll just to see how he does going forward with it. But I do think it's a cool transaction pickup. Delphox to Altera is going to be very interesting to see how he's using that, but we'll just see. Up next, we got my boy Obo, who does make more transaction. He got rid of the Hisuian Gudra, Sneasler, which I'm a little surprised by, and Mandibuzz. Instead picks up Skarmory, Rory Moon, and Conkeldurr. Now, obviously, he will use these for week 4, as you'll see there. Which I didn't discuss because again they weren't updated for week 4 standings. But I think his transaction Conkeldurr, I think is a really good Pokemon. I don't know how it fits with a Sun team of sorts, but it's going to be interesting. I think Skarmory's a good pickup. Excuse me. Skarmory's a really good pickup. Gives him a Stuff Rocker, gives him Spikes, which he desperately needed for this team. He's finally learning to get the hazards that he needs for these Pokemon to start putting in them Jordan numbers, which I'm really happy about. Rory Moon, I do think it was a great pickup as well. Getting a true Sun abuser on this team, along with a Mon that can decently use Sun with the Raging Bolt, which I think is really great. I think the defensive core of Screamtail plus Skarmory in Porygon 2 is disgusting, and I think that's really balanced up. I definitely think Obo really made his team a lot better. Like this definitely moved to a like probably from the 5 to at least a 7 or an 8 for me now, which is really good for Obo, and I'm hoping he can pilot this team to keep going on the momentum that he is on. Keegan, he didn't change anything. Dell changed quite a lot. He kept his top three and changed about everything except on Dozo and Trio. I cannot believe he actually brought a Trio to week 4. I don't know what you want from me. But let's see what he got rid of. Let's see if I can remember off the top of my head what he got rid of. He got rid of Terra Skeledirge, which I'm actually kind of surprised he did. He got rid of Gomora. He got rid of Weavile. He got rid of because there's 5 changes, so you made 5 transactions. Let's think here. Got rid of Weavile, Skeledirge, Gomora, Suina Electrode, and oh, I can't remember the fifth mon. It must have been a grass type if he had Ogremon, because that was like his only besides Lando was his only resist. I don't remember the grass type. Damn it. Well, looking at his new transactions now, he's got Terra Ogerpon that he took from Emil because Emil dropped it. Latias, Heatran, Yancey, and Cincino. Cincino, I definitely think was a cool pickup because it is a. I do think it's again another problem though with Dell here. He did the same thing again where he only grabbed one mon that basically removes hazards, one that doesn't want to. With Cincino, I can see as a decent, okay user for hazard removal, but again, it's only made to be a sweat up sweeper, so you might be forced to rub boots on it a lot. Especially those weeks you really need to run boots against sticky webs. But I really do think there's some cool pickups here. Personally speaking, I'm not a fan of Heatran. I think Heatran is bad. If this was Terra Heatran, I would say there's a lot of cool potential with that. And I think it would be really cool. Terra Ogrepon is someone that's going to be using it in the JDL Ubers tour, which if you guys didn't check that video, definitely check that out if you haven't already. Um, I think it's gonna be a really good mod. Latias, really good support piece for Ubers. I feel like it's a really good support piece to pair off really well with some of these Pokemon, which I think is really great. Diancie would have liked it with Terra, but I definitely can tell Dell did not have the points to do so. And even argue with Cincino, but I think Cincino would have been like 6 or 7 points if it was Terra. So, but Diancie is still a decent enough Pokemon, very good, and it has a lot of good tools. It's a really good mod. It's a more importantly, it gives that role that what Glamora had with Spikes. Now, the only problem that Dell's going to run into every single week for the rest of the season is that he give away his grounded poison type, which therefore means he loses the Toxic Spikes, which is a massive nerf to his team. Now, it's not just because of the fact he can get the two. If he gets hit with 2 layers, it's over. If just one layer of Toxic Spikes go up, he is kind of screwed, and he can't really do much about it. Which is why it sucks that Titsino's going to be forced to have boots. Excuse me. More weeks than not because of that reason, and I think it's going to bad. So we'll be interested to see how Dell pilots this team with the transactions he's made. But we'll just I believe in Dell. He's the people's champion. He's the people's champion for a reason. Up next, we're going to talk about Vepsis, who made some transactions as well. He got rid of the Serena, and he got rid of Rhydon. I am heartbroken by that, by the way. He didn't give Terra Rhydon a chance. I am telling you that right now. He did not give that Terra right on a chance. But I think Terra Sandaconda is going to be very interesting. Obviously, we've seen the Dawn, the Dawn. Mephisto used Sandaconda to absolute success, which is really great. And it's gonna be really interesting to see how Vepsis controls it. I think Glamora is if that doesn't scream of Vepsis Mon, I don't know what you want from me. And the fact that again, it's more reasons that his team is so freaking good. It keeps adding on to why it's such a good team, which is just insane to me how much he keeps making this team so better every single week. It's just insane to me. It's really awesome. Yeah. Oh, shit. I think the Glamora pickup was fantastic. Sandacana, it's going to be very interesting, especially if he wants to take use of any potential Sand Spit ability to use step boost to things like Glamora and also help things like this up with the Crown and Clef Key potentially. Who knows? But we'll see how he goes with that. Obviously, Amel didn't make any changes. He made his changes last week. D Ray didn't make any other changes. Viz, there was talk that Viz got rid of his Shaman Sky at one point. I think people are just trolling me, I guess, with that. Up next, we have Nexus here, and wow, he did it. He dropped the damn horse. I'm gonna be completely honest with you guys. I think in Uber's Spectre is not good. Spectre is arguably not a bronze Uber. I can understand why it hadn't moved up there since it's getting banned in almost every league out there because it's deemed an Uber. But if you want my honest opinion in a format like this, it is not an Uber. It is not an Uber. Dawn leans to Crosma though. I know Vepsis definitely was taking a massive risk with this Pokemon because of the fact that it is going to be a mon like oh, it's Muck that Bepsis had. Never mind. Muck and Rhydon he had. I forgot. I literally saw this now, and I remember Bepsis he had a Muck. So never mind. That's the another one he got rid of his Muck as well. But next is very interested to see how he uses Dawn Wings. I definitely think Dawn Wings is still a very good Pokemon. I arguably think it is a great Uber. Obviously, just having that quad weakness to both Ghost and Dark is really annoying. But I do think that Nexus has the tools to take on Ghost and Dark decently well. Let's just hope that he does not get overrun by the Ghost and Dark types by that much, and hopefully he can pressure them. So, next up, he got Sneasler, which I'm excited to see Nexus use Sneasler. Sneasler is personally one of my favorite Pokemon I've used this generation. It's a fantastic Pokemon, really, really good. Manaphy almost feels like a Nexus mon, if you want my honest opinion. I think he's used Manaphy maybe one time, but we'll wait and see. But I'm really excited to see what he does with Manaphy. Obviously, he probably did a trade with Chase or did a transaction to get it, and Chase gave him that. So really excited to see this Pokemon do some work, and I'm really hoping it does really well. Upsell, he picked up Muck. Nexus got his boy back. I want to see Nexus pop off of Muck. I want to see him pop off of this Muck. Little risky grabbing another Psychic Weak Pokemon. But obviously he has really good Psychic Resist with the Magear now, the Dawn Wings, the Ting Lu. So I think he's fine with Psychic having a bit of a Psychic Resist. Also, I just realized he got rid of Urshifu Rapid Strike for Manaphy. Damn. I will say in Ubers, maybe Manaphy is a little bit better just because he's a lot more tankier of a mon to be able to set up and then just push past teams. Urshifu can be good, but you really need to be more of a really strong offensive breaker. And Nexus just didn't see weeks that he felt like he was good. He also got rid of Cinderace. I just realized that too. He got rid of Cinderace, which shocks me. And I'm very shocked that Nexus never once used Cinderace, which kind of shocked me because there was like a. I know I keep saying the same words over again. I apologize. There were like a lot of matches where I felt like Cinderace came, but I guess Nexus never saw the vision for Cinderace. But who knows? But I really like Nexus' squad here. I really hope he gets the bounce back and keeps on trucking along. Up next, we got Chase here, who made some interesting choices. He obviously got rid of Bramblegast, ripped John Jr. I mean, John was supporting this team because of Bramblegast, but now it's not on there. It's going to be really hard for John to root for the team, but it's okay, John. It's all right. Bramblegast will still get drafted at some point. So we picked up Corviknight, which I actually really like. I don't know if I like it paired with Metagross, though because now your only fire resist is realistically speaking a Chi-Yu and a Garchomp. And depending on the fire type, you're not winning. Like Gouch and Fire looks at this team and goes, dinner. and not good. But we'll see how Chase pilots Corviknight. Araquanid obviously becoming the new water type for Chase's team, which I think Sticky Webs is scary with this team. I think that was a really good pickup by Chase and Terra Drifblim. We've seen the power that Terra Drifblim can do. And if there's anyone that can prove how good Drifblim can be, it's definitely Chase. I think Chase popped off with Terra Drifblim or just regular Drifblim in general. So it's gonna be really interesting to see how Chase pilots this team now. Very decent team though. Very interesting. John did not make any changes. Champ, I don't think he's making any changes. He's just here for the fun times. Kyle didn't make any changes. My boy Jason didn't make any changes. Uh, CV Marcus made some changes here. I'm trying to remember what he dropped though. I think it was Gardevoir is what he dropped because he now picked up Moltres, which interesting choice of picking up Moltres in my opinion. It's gonna be really interesting. And he tear the Hisuian Voltorb. Let's go, Marcus. That's my goat right there. He tear the Hisuian Voltorb. Finally. Weeks of denying the fans of him being a Terra captain to finally being able to Terra. Let's go. But I do think this Moltres pick is going to be really interesting for Marcus. Again, another fantastic grass check, which is a really good thing when you have sand. It's going to be really interesting to see how Moltres fits with this team going forward, but I really like the pickup. And obviously, my boy OG Albina, he picked up a couple of Pokemon as well. He got rid of Pheasantipity, which good. Pheasantipity sucks. Picked up the Weezing that Nexus used to have. And I think Weezy's gonna be really cool with Owen's team. I think it's definitely the Pokemon that Owen really needed because now it gets some Toxic Spikes. That way Mew does not need to run Toxic Spikes, which means Mew can now be opened up a lot more of its kind of utility with hazards, which is really good. And Sableye, which he has now, which Sableye, interesting choice. But I kind of like the idea of Prankster and being able to shut down some stuff and force specific switches and builds around that. So let's see how Sableye does here. I'm very interested to see how well it does for him this season. With that being said, now let's go ahead and break down these matchups. I'm going to probably speed these matchups a little bit just because I did talk about the transactions a lot, but I did want to give you my thoughts and opinions about how I felt like these ones do going for the team matchups. So first off, we have top and bottom because they're right above each other and below each other. We have Ant taking on Bepsis for what should be a really good game here. Ant's team, if you didn't forget now, has Calyrex Ice Rider, Galarian Slowking, Miascarata, Scizor, Terra Walking Away, Donphan, Basque Legion Female, Quillfish, Munchlax, and Galarian Moltres. While Bepsis has the Rayquaza, Iron Valiant, Zumbus at the Crown, Mesprit, Kalepki, Alomoya, Glimora, Terra Thunderous Tea, Terra Sandacana, and Incineroar. So looking at Ant's squad into this team, obviously Calyrex Ice Rider is going to do fantastic into this type of matchup. Walking away can be really annoying for Vepsis to really deal with. I actually think Basque Legion comes this week as well because Vepsis does not have a good ghost switch in. He has no normal type on his team unless it's going to be Terra. So Ghost Spam is pretty damn free in the Nexus here. Galarian Moltres is a very interesting choice this week. I could definitely see it being brought, but I could kind of see it not being brought because again, it kind of struggles with dealing things like the Klefki, because Klefki hard walls it, the Zamazenta to an extent, and also the Thunderous T. So really interesting if it's going to be brought or not, but I definitely could see it. Dawn fan, I could see Dawn fan like an Assault Vestmon this week can definitely provide a really good offensive capabilities, which I think is really great. Munchlax, I'm sorry, brother, you're not going to be able to be used at all. Quillfish is interesting. Obviously, Vepsis' only removal option is Glamora, which not the greatest, but Vepsis he had a rapid spin in Arena, which was okay, but I think it does make it seem a little more hazard weak because Glamora is not going to be one you want to run rapid spin with a lot. So I do think Quillfish, if it does come, is going to be like a Sash lead or Custap lead with getting a Spike up, Custap Berry, and can go for Destiny Bond to get a KO or get a second Spike off just something like that. Again, it's very niche if it does come, but I don't know. Miascarada, I don't think it comes. Miascarada has a pretty bad matchup, a lot of things here. Because Bepsis can easily run Scarf or boost your speed with Valiant and easily revenges Miascarada. Zombies at the Crown always revenges Miascarada very easily. Klefki walls it. Lamora beats it offensively. Thunderous T can beat it offensively. Incineroar wins it 1v1. It's going to be a really rough matchup. Scizor, I think, is almost somewhat forced to be brought this week, but I don't know if Scizor comes as Assault Vest, Banded, or utility. It's gonna be really interesting to see how he wants to really use it. But I do think it has an okay matchup. I don't think it's a great matchup, but it's really decent for what it does. Galarian Slowking definitely could see kind of a. I can definitely see hard Trick Room coming this week. I think Trick Room with both that and Calyrex definitely makes a ton of sense into this matchup as Vepsis doesn't have nothing to stop Trick Room from really being set up and going to town against him. So really think the Trick Room mode is going to be showing strong this week. If I had to take a guess on what I think Ant is going to bring this week, I think he's going to bring his Calyrex Hydra, his Galarian Slowking, his Walking Wake, his Basque Legion, Galarian Moltres, and then a toss up between Donphan, Quillfish, and Scizor. I think those are the three backup mods that he could definitely bring to this matchup. As for Vepsis, Rayquaza is interesting. Rayquaza does not have a good flying. His Ant does not have a good flying resist anymore on his team. In fact, he never had one. We don't count Stormdrainer. Spam with Dragon Ascent looks fun. It looks like there is no switches to a choice banded Dragon Ascent, which is really great. Iron Valiant's also another fantastic mon this matchup. I do think it's forced to be, but very to respect Scizor when carrying coverage such as Fire Punch and stuff. Zamazenta Crown, a fantastic Pokemon in this matchup. Really provides good offensive pressure in here. It's going to probably be a little bit more on the tankier side with an adamant nature, with having little attack investment, but I think it's going to be a fantastic Pokemon nonetheless into this match. Mesprit could see being broad, but I don't know if it matches up that well. I think the healing support from Mesprit is really great. I think Klefki is a guaranteed bringing this week because screens plus spikes look really good for Vepsis in terms of the support. Incineroar, I don't realistically think it comes. It's not a bad one, but it's I don't know. I feel like he would only bring it if he really fears ghost spam. It doesn't really want ghost spam to guarantee be start coming, but I don't know. Thunderous T definitely needs to be brought. It's a really good Terramon in this matchup. Terra Sandaconda is also not terrible, but I don't think there's a Terra type he needs or can use that can really benefit him for this matchup, which is why I think Terra Thunder is a lot better here. I think Glamora could potentially come. Glamora could be something like a Meteor Beam set, a Choice Spec set, and just start punishing. Because Rock plus Poison, it really goes into most of what Ant has here that he has no good switch-ins for. So definitely a Pokemon that can definitely do a lot of work offensively. That's where Bepsis wants to go. Alomomo, low-key, does have a very good matchup here. It's a really good answer to Calyrex. It's a very good answer to Walking Wake. It could be Assault Vest with Fizz Dap and be able to take both hits from both and just kind of pivot around and move around with that. Just a really annoying mod for Ant to deal with. And that's the team. So, six I expect from Vepsis here. I'm thinking Rayquaza, Iron Valiant's on the ground. I think it's top three. I think Klefki makes a ton of sense. I think the Alamola kind of makes a lot of sense. And I would say the Thunderous T. Mons I definitely think could still show up to this one is Mesprit if he wants Healing Wish support, and the Glafora if he wants a potential with hazards, or if he just wants to rock out with an offensive Glafora. In terms of the matchup here, ooh, this is another really good matchup, and I really don't know where it can go. I think for this matchup, though, I'm gonna go with Vepsis. I think Vepsis has a really good, can have an easy, good game plan to pivot around this, but Vepsis does struggle with a lot that Ant can do with his team. As Ant can kind of just take a few pieces, run them with specs, and just start slamming attacks, run choice band on a few Pokemon, and again, that trick from support. But this is definitely going to be a really good matchup here, and really looking forward to this matchup. And also, real quick, guys, I have a message here that I need to answer, and I will get to you guys right back. All right, I am back, ladies and gentlemen. I do apologize for a long break, even though it wasn't a long break for you. Actually, to get something set up because I am getting myself interviewed by Skilling Solely, whichever brand that uh, Josh and Logan go by. You'll see a link for that eventually down the line. But I want to make sure I was set up with something real quick. But anyways, we'll get back into this. So Pepsis is who I'm picking. Next up, I am super excited for this matchup. It is my boy John Jr. taking on my guy Joey Pokemon MD. Joey's team is Mewtwo, Zarude, Enamorus, Gliscor, Iron Crown, Primarina, Gouging Fire, Smeargle, Avalugg, Vileplume, and John's team is consistent of the Ho-Oh, Kyurem Black, Goldengo, Iron Boulder, Grimmsnarl, Toadscroll, Galarian Weezing, Azel, Swampert, and Grottle. Now we look at John's team, we look at Mewtwo. Mewtwo go Burr. The only real good answer that John's gonna have to Mewtwo, in my honest opinion, is going to be the Grimmsnarl. Grimmsnarl is one of the best checks to Mewtwo from not only the utility standpoint, but also from the typing standpoint. As I don't think Mewtwo gets a steel type coverage move, to my knowledge. But it's still going to be one of those mons that John needs to keep around to really provide, offensive pressure. He also needs to keep things like the Golden Go alive to really offensive pressure as well. Terra's of Rude obviously makes a ton of sense this matchup. Terra's of Rude is very strong into most things that can do things to Judge John. Iron Crown will be interesting. I don't know how good of a matchup Iron Crown has into John. It'd be really interesting to see it though if it was brought. Smeargle, I could definitely see Joey bringing it to mess with John, as John only has one removal option, two removal options in total. Valerian Weezing. Valerian Weezing definitely pressured to be in this matchup into this one because it's not the greatest Galarian Weezing matchup, especially when your opponent's got Mewtwo, Iron Crown, and a Terra Zaru that can beat that thing 1v1. Definitely gonna be rough to see that thing being brought into this match. So definitely gonna be really hard there. Uh Vileplume, don't think it comes. If it was Terra, I definitely think 100% Vileplume comes. Funny enough, I actually think there's a decent chance we see Avalugg. Avalugg, it's not that bad this matchup. Physically defensive wise, it's not that terrible. I guess it's along the lines of potentially like Terrifier and being able to 1v1 Ho-Oh to an extent. Also taking on hits with Sheer Black and being able to take on the Gotengo. It's going to be weird to say, but if John does not respect the Avalugg, he actually will lose to it. Just like how he didn't respect Minior and he could have lost to that. So he had to literally change his game plan to make sure he respected Minior. So you better respect the table. Enamorous Incarnate. Don't really know if that's a good mon this matchup. I think Scarf Golden Go outspeeds it if it's on Scarf. Kieran Black, if it gets a DD up, kind of just run away with it with Rosella Berry. Get two DDs up and go from there. Galarian Weezing always hard walls it if it's on Psychic. So it's a really interesting matchup for it. Uh, Gouging Fire, I think, is really good, really strong breaker in this matchup. It definitely provides a lot of great offensive pressuring. Don't know exactly what kind of set Joey wants to go with this week. I think there's a couple of options you can definitely go with. I think Band looks really good. I think DD looks fantastic. Booster hat, excuse me, looks really strong. It's gonna be really interesting to see how he's gonna use it. Like I said with Prim though, Prim I think is really good, but I don't know how good of a good mon it would be to be brought here, as both Kieran Black can outspeed, and if it gets the Dragon Dance up and it's getting chip sandwich off, it get O Coaster from Marina. Iron Boulder with a Terra can beat it. Galarian Weezing 1v1s it decently well. Azov can move it 1v1 it. Terra Grotto could just destroy him if he's not careful. Definitely, since this is a mid-season matchup, so this is a matchup where both players could definitely have a good chance to face each other in playoffs. Definitely don't want to try to bring their best teams this week, so definitely could see them not doing that. So, but Joey has a pretty good team here. There's gonna be some things we're gonna need to talk about on John's side, though. That's actually gonna maybe worry Joey a little bit here. Also in Gliscor, don't know if Gliscor comes. It's very situational for this matchup, and I don't know if it's that good. Now, looking at John's team, Mr. Shoulder Day, the Iron Boulder, would like to say a few words on how you don't switch into him. So definitely think you're forced to bring Avalok to be switching to things like the Iron Boulder. I think Ho-Oh looks fantastic in this matchup. Fire plus Flying has really limited switchings, if not no switchings at all on Joey's team. Kieran Black, very good Mon this week. I definitely think it's a really good merit. I do think John has to decide whether or not he wants to put Earth Power, if he wants to respect the Iron Crown on the build this week. So definitely something to note with that. Otherwise, I can see John just running the same three moves he runs every week, and then just throw in whatever filler move he wants. But yeah, those top three easily come. I think Grimmsnarl is really good for utility. It also is decently good in terms of like Thunder Waving, Party Shy, which is really interesting. Yeah. Excuse me. Swampert, don't really know if Swampert comes. Swampert, I can't. There's like so many grass coverage that Joey could have, and plus Swampert. Be granted how good of a defensive tank it can be this week. I don't realistically know if it makes a ton of sense. I think Azov offensively is really, really good here. I think like a Salisbury set can really go off with Nasty Plot Endure and then like Psychic Shadow Ball or something because Joey's never going to know exactly what kind of set this is going to be unless he's that man of the not just not click Terra in front of a Azov that's +2, so, but Azov I think can do really well here. Goldego, another actual pretty good mod this matchup. Excuse me. Despite having some bad matchups against some Pokemon, I do think Goldego is pretty decently good in this matchup. It's another one of those Pokemon that does need to come to be a really good answer to the Avalugg to an extent. And also with the Ho-Oh, I think you're almost forced to go special Ho-Oh again so that we can take on the Avalugg. But I wouldn't hate mixed Ho-Oh. Mixed Ho-Oh looks really good, and especially with whatever move we want to be physical or special, or have two of the same typing, one physical, one special. That way the special move is there to specifically design the Avalugg, and the physical one can just take on everything else. So there is that. Toad Skrill, don't think you're breaking that thing unless you're that scared of hazards, which if John doesn't respect the Gliscor like he has hated Gliscor for so many years, then he's definitely not gonna win. So he might be forced to bring the Toad School again. Who knows? If I take the guess on which six Joey's gonna bring in the John, I think the Mewtwo, Zarude, Avalugg, Smeargle, Gouging Fire, and then the last slot being a toss up between Gliscor, Crown, Enamorus, Primarina. I think everything besides Bob. And then from John's side, I think it's top four easily come. I actually think it's top five. I think honestly, God, we're gonna see the top five about every single week, probably. Not gonna lie. The last one definitely could be a toss up. I think Swampert for rocks is really good. Galarian and Wheezing for defensive pivoting, which is really nice. And then Azov, which can be really strong in this matchup. And again, only would see Tentacruel, Toadscruel if he really needs hazard removal for this week, which definitely would make a ton of sense. So for this matchup, I am actually gonna go with my boy John here. I think he actually has a very good matchup into Joey, and I think it's just gonna be one of those matches where Joey's gonna struggle a little bit. So, but I fully believe my man John. I really think he's gonna do it. Now we got Viz versus Shuckle King, both teams that are paid to win. Even though Viz would disagree. Viz's team, he's got Deoxys Attack, Shaman Sky, Hisuian Samurott, Archelon, Palafin, Palipar, Terra Ursaluna, Vikable, and Mimikyu. And Shuckle King's team with the Zacian Iron Shreds, Ogerpon, Wellspring, Witch King Terra, Latios Darkrai, Deoxys Defense, Petricorn, Delphox, and the Quilladin, Witch King Terra. So looking at the matchup upright, and Deoxys attack is very mixed in this matchup. It's mixed now because of the fact that it can be a good mixed attacker this week. It's mixed if it wants to be brought or not because it does have a bit of a bad matchup. Now, why do I say it's a bit of a bad matchup? Well, I think Scarf Latios or Scarf Darkrai always outspeed it. Scarf Zacian also guarantee outspeeds it. It's also one of those Pokemon that's really struggled to hard to really bring into the matchup to really do a lot of things. Now, another thing about this matchup is that Shuckle King does have the Ogerpon Wellspring, which is probably the arguably number one best counter to to the Palafin. So Palafin might not be forced to be brought in this week, but Palafin does kind of be needed for its offensive capabilities. So who knows really what's going to happen? Shaman Sky has a really good matchup here, though. Shaman Sky can really punish a lot of things offensively here. I think Specs is also really good in this matchup. I could see something like Boots, though. I think Boots, dual stab, earth power, just really all you really need. I don't think you really need Dazzling Gleam for anything specific. Just overall super strong on this matchup. Terra Ursaluna, very interesting to see. Very interesting to see how that goes. Mimikyu, another fantastic mod in this matchup. I think a Trick Room variant of Mimikyu is really good, so it can help with that. Ursaluna, Vikavolt for webs. I definitely would not hate Vikavolt in general. So it's a really good mod in this matchup. Dual Stab plus Mudshot, and then either Flash Cannon or Sneaky Webs is a really good fourth option for a move. So just a super strong Pokemon there. Pelipper, I don't think you realistically bring it. I don't hate this matchup for Pelipper, but I don't think you bring this year. I really don't want to give strong highly coverages with this damn ogre pawn. I don't think you want to do that. Our Chaladon is very interesting. If a Chaladon comes, I think it's got to be forced to be Scarfed. I think Scarf on Chaladon makes a ton of more sense in this matchup versus anything else. It's kind of gonna be his only real way to kind of start really beating down that Zacian, if not one shot to Zacian, so he doesn't stress about it. But it's gonna be interesting. I do think Chuck kind of overwhelms him a bit here. Hisuian Samurai, again, another Pokemon that may or may not come. I think based on the texture of the draft that Shuckle has, we definitely could see it. It's definitely not a wild card guess that it could either be brought. It's definitely a mon that would make a ton of sense to be brought, and not just because, it needs to be brought type of thing. So with Shuckle King's team, Zacian goes Burr. There is no fairy resist on this team. So Zacian clicks Choice Band. That's kind of just what Zacian's gonna do. That's basically all it's gonna do. Darkrai, I think has a really good matchup here as well, but Darkrai could be left off the bench this week if he feels like Darkrai could get overwhelmed. So I would be totally surprised at that. Really. Justice Defense, again, another Pokemon. Don't know if it 100% comes, but I definitely think it would be funny for Deoxys versus Deoxys again. I think that would be really funny. Um, so that would make sense. Latios, definitely think Latios makes a lot of sense. I think Dragon Ball Psychic is really annoying for Viz to really deal with because he has no real resistance to pull up stabs, which is really unfortunate since his immunity with the Mimikyu. And I think Society's is broken. That's kind of really bad there for him. Don't think Delphox comes. Delphox has a pretty bad matchup here. Delphox can offensively do really well, but I don't think in terms of the team build that Viz has, it's not worth bringing a Delphox this week. Quillen sucks. Petrot, definitely think it's forced to be brought this week. I'm definitely expecting a more fully fizzed up Petrot to be able to take on the Ursaluna, which would make a lot of sense. Definitely going to be a really big task for Petron to really take on the hits this week. Ogre Pond Water definitely comes. Like, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. This thing is easily the most. Excuse me, one of the most broken mons out there, and can just do so much more. Iron Treads. Don't know if it realistically comes. I don't think it's that good of a mon in this matchup for what it can really provide. This almost looks like a standstill in terms of who I think can win and who loses. Um, But if I had to pick between these two, uh, I'm gonna pick. Hmm, I think I'm gonna pick Shuckle King on here. I think he just has a better offensive matchup in this one, and Zacian just can click the button, man. It's just so really hard for him to deal with that. All right, up next we got CB Marcus taking on the man himself, Obo. CB Marcus with the Palkia, Dragon Ball, Zapdos, Exegol, Tentacruel, Tyranitar, Moltres with Bombi, Terra, Hisuian, Zoltorb, and the Immune Shell. We also Terra Exegol, if I didn't state that already. And then we have the Obo in his Morpeko United with the Groudon, Terra Raging Bolt, Screamtail, Rillaboom, Roaring Moon, Skarmory, Volcanion, Conkeldurr, and Porygon 2. It is Sand versus Sun, so Weather Wars, which is arguably the worst matchups that both teams have because, again, their priorities is making sure they have their weather. It's going to be a back and forth struggle to try to do anything with them this week. Excuse me. So, really tough matchup for both sides. I think if we look at it right, Palkia. There's really no good answers to Palkia if Sun is not up. If Sun's not up, Palkia is really good, but Palkia is a little bit pressured here because of the fact that Raging Bolt can always live ahead and tear it out of it. There's the Scream Tail that can be special defensive. There's a Rillaboom that offensively checks it. The Roaring Moon that can offensively check it. The Volcanion which can defensively check it, and Porygon which can just swallow hits from the day. So we may not see Palkia being brought, but I can definitely see him still bringing. He feels like it's a good enough matchup here. Dragon Ball is definitely a Pokemon though that definitely can come because of the fact that we have a bad matchup, but it's a super strong Pokemon. So don't really see any bad reason for it not to be brought. It's definitely going to be really good. I'm going to be interested to see if it's a Willow Hex set, Choice Band, Dragon Dance, or even Scarf for that matter. So very interested to see how CP will be running his Dragapult this week. Zapdos could be brought. It could not be brought. It kind of really depends on how this matchup needs to be, but I do think he needs to have a really good Rillaboom answer and just something to kind of help take on some things out there. So I do think Zapdos is pretty solid for that reason. Moltres is interesting, right? Because Moltres will speed tie with things like the Groudon. It will speed tie, outspeeds everything else, right? So it's definitely a Pokemon that if you let it have Sun, it's definitely going to take advantage of it. And I would not be surprised to see Scarf and Specs from this Moltres to really take advantage of that Sun and just really abuse the lack of weaknesses that Olo has here. The fact that he only has two fire switchings and can lose one of those fire switchings and he needs to tear out of that fire switching. So overall, I do think that's a really good aspect there to think about with Marcus' team. Excadrill is very interesting here. I don't think it's a really good Excadrill matchup here, if you want my honest opinion. The good news about Excadrill this matchup is I don't really think Excadrill benefits from having things like Earthquake. Obviously now it's going to be forced to run high horsepower because the fact that Elbow is going to be forced to run Rillaboom this week with the grass terrain. I just don't think it's that good for him to do that, but who knows? It could really benefit him there from when he needs to. Mian Shao is a monster of a threat versus Elbow. He has no good switches to Mian Shao besides Scream Tail. Um, Fighting, he just can clearly click a button here, so I think it's going to be really good offensive pressure from that way. Rabombi will be very interesting this week. Rabombi, if the Skarmory doesn't come, Rabombi kind of just wins because Rabombi can just start picking off KOs. If Volcanian's weakened and this thing gets Dragon Dance, Quiver Dance up, it can two-shot the Volcanion from a specific range that it's at, and then literally just steamroll everything else. So definitely a very threatening mon. Plus webs are definitely annoying for Obo, even though webs aren't going to hurt his team 100%. It still can hurt the ones that he has specific speed creeps that he needs for, and can definitely be taken advantage of if he is not careful. Tyranitar, it only comes if Sand's coming. Otherwise, I don't think it's being brought. Let's be completely honest with you here. And then Tentacruel. Tentacruel definitely could see being brought. Tentacruel's not a terrible mon in this matchup, but it's definitely not the worst. It's something. Now look at an Obo's team. Groudon is scared. Shit. Groudon's very terrifying. Groudon offensively prefers a lot more of an offensive pressure this week, and can really punish you if you're not careful. A very annoying mon to deal with this week, and overall can just be really a nuisance to handle if he's not careful with it. Raging Bolt with Terra, I think obviously it's going to be broad. I don't know what variant it's going to be. I could see Fairy, I could see Grass, I could see Water. He's been rained water non-stop, I feel like. I think he brought Fairy 1 week, but I think I've always seen him with Water. Um, Excadrill, it'll be interesting to see how it fares. Screamtail, I definitely think Screamtail makes some sense. If Sun's out, I would probably say he's going to recommend going for more of a Fizz Def bulk with slight Speed Def. Or like balance it out as best he can while still getting more defense or special defense raise in the Sun. If that makes sense. Conkeldurr, definitely think Conkeldurr makes a ton of sense because of the fact that it can revenge drill very easily with or without Terra, which I think makes sense, but I don't know if it's going to overcome because it can just easily overwhelm and chip down really hard if not careful. Tentacruel, again, like I said, could come if it wants to be a hazard one. I'm probably spacing some of my stuff here, sorry. Um, Volcanion, don't really think it counts. Not that really good of on. Rory Moon definitely comes. Rory Moon is a really good offensive breaker here. One D dance up and a skill shot, and this Mon kind of just clicks a button and wins. Which is kind of insane that he just needs to click that one move, two moves, and then he can just spam one move for the rest of the game. Absolutely crazy. Porygon 2, feel like it definitely comes because it's just really good defensive pivot, but I don't know if it's going to be a main choice for him to bring. That'll be interesting. Skarmory, again, another Pokemon that definitely has a good shot of coming, but I don't know how guaranteed it is. But it's not a bad one for him nonetheless. And in terms of the matchup here, I'm actually going to go ahead and pick my boy Obo. I think his son can function a lot better over Marches' Sand. And I also think just Obo has some pieces that are more offensive here. So, definitely something to keep note of here. I actually will be right back here again, guys. Let's get a little break here. And I am back, ladies and gentlemen. I took actually a long break because I was starting to get tired and looking really bored at the screen. So I took a little bit of a break. We're back to recording and we're ready to finish up these matches. Up next, we got my boy Jason Dietite taking on Keegan. And this is a bit of a grudge match because if Keegan didn't paralyze Slitherwing and we didn't get paralyzed, we had Keegan beat. So it's time for redemption and time to get some wins under our belt. So, with that being said, let's look at Jason's team here. He's got the Zamazenta, Giratina Origin, Terra Necrozma, Snorlax, Thunderous Incarnate, Azumarill, Mamoswine, Fortress, Stinging Goldfish, and the Minior. Whereas Keegan's team is the Lunala, Greninja, Terra King Gambit, Florges, Blastoise, Infernape, Bronzong, the Dunsparce, I should say, Houndstone, Mudsdale, and the Swalot. So, looking at Keegan's team, with this matchup, I think our Zamazenta does do fairly well in this matchup. Zamazenta can really offensively pressure a lot of things that Kiki cannot handle. I do think this King Gambit is forced to be Terra Fairy this matchup in order to combat and deal with potentially the Zamazenta, or is forced to be Terra Flying in order to help kind of help deal with it in its incapacity. Definitely think that's gonna be risk. Giratina Origin is very interesting in this matchup. It is weaker. It is actually slower than Lunala, and with King Gambit lying around, there's gonna be those 50-50 mind games that we have to be careful about. Florges, another annoying Pokemon to deal with, but I do, and also with the Dunsparce as well, causing it to be a potential issue. So it may be a bit of a tough matchup for Giratina here, but I do think we can still bring it. It's not that great of a mon this matchup, I'm going to be completely honest, but who knows how we'll get dues. Mamoswine. Mamoswine's not bad this matchup. I do think Mamoswine is not as good, though. I don't realistically think we're going to be bringing it to this week. And I think it might be kind of time to consider talking to Jason about dropping Mamoswine. We're not using it at all this week. Same with Minior. I think there's been a lot of times we could have brought Tierra Minior to a lot of games, but I just don't think we're bringing it. And I think we just need to go for some value versus what we over kind of messed around. So, definitely some value probably talk. I personally think we bring Hisuian Quillfish. Hisuian Quillfish is really good here. It's a good defensive pivot into a lot of things. Pain split on some things. Take on the Lunala very comfortably well as well. And just overall be a really annoying mon. You can definitely do a lot. Azumarill, very good, strong Pokemon this matchup. Can really revenge kill a lot of things if you get into the right positioning. With that, Thunderous Incarnate, another fantastic mon this week. It's a really good, strong breaker. It's a good taunter and such. It's a really strong Pokemon here as well. Terra Necrozma is really terrifying here for him. Now, there's a lot of sets that we can definitely go here. Calm Mind sets look really good. Spec sets look really good. Choice Band sets, Dragon Dance, utility sets. Like, there's a lot of ways we go. I think the Necrozma really benefits from being set up this week, and I personally think we could go special. I think special is a little bit more better. Physical is only there if we really want to care about the Fortress. Which Fortress is something we do need to be a little careful because Fortress being our only Steel type. Fortress really doesn't take on a lot of things that Keegan has, so Fortress may or may not be brought. It would consider to be brought this matchup, so we do really have to prep for a physically defensive Fortress. And have to unfortunately be physical if we want it. And I think we'll be forced to have to be either Steel, Poison, or potentially something else. I don't know which though. So overall, I do think we have a good matchup into Keegan, but let's talk about why Keegan can have a good matchup into us. So, also Snorlax. Snorlax is fantastic into Keegan. The only Keegan is one thing that really scares us with Snorlax, so there's that. Now, what can scare us with Keegan, though, is Lunala. Even though we do have Snorlax, Lunala is still a massive threat. Lunala is incredibly dangerous. Specs Lunala kind of just OKOs of 2 KOs everything we have on the board. The only good switch we're going to have is Snorlax to Assault Vest. which is really gonna be pressured if it's a Salt Festival this week. Greninja, definitely something that is gonna be very unorthodox between either being, excuse me, Battle Bond or potentially Protean. If I had to take a guess on what potential variant we're gonna see, I think more than likely Protean makes the most sense this matchup. I definitely think with the fact you can change the type and just not be weak to some things, uh, can go a long way in the matchup. So I do think Protean makes the most sense. Like I said with Team King Gambit, I think the Terra Fly set makes a lot of sense, but I also could see some variants where something like Terra Ground or maybe Terra Electric to stop Thunderwave stuff. Especially since with the amount of spawning most likely doesn't come. Like Terra Electric is a really good mid ground, just be able to make sure that you can get Thunderwave and also so you can avoid being flood away from oh, oh, really done away with Thunding and also weaken the electric type attacks, and that way you can then have strong offense towards us. But I don't know. It depends on what King really wants. But I do think the Terra King Gambit makes a ton of sense here. Infernape, I don't hate this matchup. Infernape can definitely be something that if we're not careful with, can definitely steamroll through us if we're not careful. SD Infernape is actually very scary for us, or even a choice banded Infernape, because we do not have a lot of good switch-ins, if not no switches to fire type moves, besides the Zoomerl and Thick Pack Snorlax. Which one does not want to get Thunder Punch or Gunk Shot to the face, and one does not going to get close combat to the next dimension. So, definitely something we're gonna have to be able to look out for with that. Dunsparce think I could make a lot of sense here. Galarian support. Sorry I'm yawning so much, guys. The Dunsparce with Galarian support is super annoying for us to deal with. It's also a really fat and annoying Pokemon for us to be able to counter around. It's one of the best Giratina Origin counters in the game as well. I would expect probably a more mixed defensive, probably leaning a little bit more Spadef heavy or Fizdef heavy with the build. So we can take on things like the Giratina if it's special, and then still have enough to physical defense to be able to take things out, and also rock off the Chopper Berry so that Guarantee takes a hit from the zone that glare it and then cripple it down for the rest of the matchup. Um, excuse me. Sorry, I'm yawning so much, guys. Bronzong, don't realistically think Bronzong comes. Bronzong's not really that good of a mon in this matchup, but I could see Bronzong still. Like a Fizdef Bronzong with Iron Defense with no item for Poltergeist in case he wants to run no Shadow Ball with Jason. He's really good. Iron Defense Weakness Policy with Trick Room could be a really threatening thing. Don't think Houndstone comes. Houndstone's a really bad Pokemon. It's really not that good into our build this week, so I don't really think it's that good of a mon. Swalot's not coming. Mudsdale could potentially come. I would discount Mudsdale showing up. Mudsdale's definitely very annoying for us to deal with. From a fist standpoint, especially Starling, really good. Oh my god, sorry guys. Our best physical offensive check into it is going to be the Azumarill. So there's that. Um, Florges definitely think it could potentially come as like mixed defensive, fully fizz def, with being like slightly spadef with bolstering max HP. Definitely gonna be an annoying one for us to deal with, trying to break down and try to whittle down as much as we can. Blastoise definitely think has a fair shot to come. I think he needs it for in case removal, otherwise he just loses a hazard stack. So do you think he's gonna be somewhat forced to bring it just because he needs that removal option? So there's that, and I think that was everything we talked about. Seriously, I don't know why I'm yawning so much. So, if I had to choose who's winning this week, not gonna lie though, as much as we want redemption against Keegan, this is a matchup that definitely go Keegan's favor. Um, it's a really unorthodox matchup here where both sides have good matchups. And it's gonna be really hard to see who can come out on top. Winning this one, hmm. I'm God. It's really back and forth on this one. But I think I'm gonna go with my guy Jason. We've been on a good roll lately. We're on a big 2-game win streak right now after taking out Nexus and Ant, especially against Ant, that was our worst matchup of the season. I think momentum's on Jason's side, and I think we have the tools we need to win. We do need to play carefully around the Terrakin Gambit and the Lunala, but other than that, we can be and the Infernape. But other than that, we think we can handle the rest of the team, and everything else can be worked around it. So I do think Jason's going to have a slight edge here, and I do think he's going to do really well this week, and I'm really expecting some great things from him. And of course, I'll be there to help prep him along the way. So really looking forward to seeing how Jason does this week. Up next, we've got the men of the hour, OG Abina, my good friend, and my other good friend, Del D Double. Del's team is the Solgaleo Earthshaker Single Strike, Landers T, Ochre Pawn Teal, Latias, Heatran, Diancie, Cincino, Dondozo, and Walk Trio. Whereas Owen's team is the Dialga, Fluttermane, Mew, Crocodile, Ogerpon, Quarterstone, Wheezing, Shaman, Rotom Heat, and Sableye. Right at the get go, looking at Owen's team, he straight up loses to Urshifu Single Strike. There is no good counterplay to that Pokemon that he is going to have. I think, though, there's one thing we're going to have advantage of in this matchup is that I do not think Dell can afford to be Scarf. Now, if Dell does go Scarf, there's a couple of ways we can handle that. Definitely two of the Pokemon that Owen can definitely bring will be Rough Helmet with Fizz Def to be able to take on that thing on fully well. Something like a Fizz Def Wheezy with Rocky Helmet or a Fizz Def Mew with its tear. Into either Fairy or excuse me, stuff like that, just to give you examples. But Urshifu is going to be the biggest threat to Owen's team. Solgaleo is going to be very interesting this matchup. I think Solgaleo is also another massive threat to Owen if he is not careful. I could see Scarf. Scarf would make a lot of sense. I could see something like Agility, Flame Charge to get a speed raise. I think offensively, gouging. Solgaleo looks great here. I don't think weakness policy makes a ton of sense. I think an offensive build really does well here. I think a Morning Sun 3 attacks build can really offensively pressure Owen. See, I'm getting my Owens mixed up now. Pressure Owen if he is not careful. So definitely think that Solgaleo is going to be really good here. Lando T, don't really know if it comes. It's not that bad mon in this matchup, but I don't think it's that great. It gets outsped by quite a lot of things. It really doesn't do that much damage. It was going to be much of a threat. It would have to be Choice Scarf, which I think kind of takes away a lot of good value that Lando couldn't do in this matchup. So I don't realistically know if we are going to see Lando, but who knows? I've been proven wrong before. Excuse me. Heatran, don't really know if Heatran comes. Heatran's not that bad of a mod in this matchup, but I don't think it's that great, especially with the amount of ground coverage options that the Owens team can have. DNC kind of same for the same reason. It's not that good of a mon to this matchup. Latios is interesting. Calm Mind weakness policy Latios could actually be a massively big threat of a set. Calm Mind with Recover, Draining Kiss, Store Power kind of just wins. Like, I'm not gonna lie to you. So definitely something we have to be really to look out for here. I think it's a very threatening set and a very threatening mod into a lot of things. So Latios definitely could be a big problem. Cincino's interesting. I don't realistically see it being brought. It's not like a terrible mon, but I don't know. It's just that not that good. Woe Trio, don't ever bring it again, Dell. Just don't do it, man. Dondozo, definitely think Dondozo has a fair shot to make its debut against us this week. Dondozo is a very annoying Pokemon to deal with, and it's kind of been a Pokemon that can definitely get out of hand if we don't control. But I do think Dondozo does have a fair shot of not showing up because we do have two grass types here with Ogerpon and Shaman. But again, not a bad Pokemon to still see brought. I think I look at Sulfest Fizdef set with Body Press Earthquake, and then Heavy Slam for the Fluttermane, and then the Wave Crash. You can just kind of check a lot of things on the box there. You can definitely get the chip damage that you need. And it's also going to be a really annoying Pokemon to break physically defensive wise. That's all best. So, could be interesting this week. Ogerpon, I think that was the last one I did cover. I do think Ogerpon definitely could come this matchup. I do think Ogerpon's going to be really big and annoying. It's going to definitely force Owen to really think about what he wants to do with Flutter. As we're going to talk about Flutter here in just a second. But Ogerpon definitely has the tools to just really be an offensive menace. The only big check that we have to Ogerpon, unfortunately, is going to be wheezing into some degree a Rotom Heat. But otherwise, we do not have good counterplay to that Pokemon, especially since we have to be careful with our Croak as a Defiant Proc can activate into the Terra, and get the speed boost, and you're sitting at +1 with a Defiant boost, and then you Sword Dance on that turn as you swapped in, now you're +3, you don't have a switch in, and now you're looking at pretty much having to sack 1 or 2 Pokemon just to weaken this thing down. So definitely going to be a Pokemon we're going to struggle with. I really wish I could stop yawning. I don't know why I'm yawning so much. So against Dell, Flutter goes crazy. I think Flutter is forced into two specific sets. I think it's forced into Modest Choice Scarf, or it is forced into Booster Energy with speed and then running a very bulky set. So very interesting week we're gonna have here with this Flutter Mane. I think specs can also make a lot of sense, but I think speed is more important to have control of. So I do think Scarf, if not Booster Energy, will be the set we see from Flutter Mane. Dialga, definitely not a terrible Mon this matchup. Don't know how good it is to be brought here, but it's definitely not a terrible Mon. I definitely think a Chopper variant could be really good. I think Chopperberry with dual stab, Earth Power can just do a lot of work in this matchup. I just think the option of potentially Body Press could also be really good, or Focus Blast, depending on what it is, or a Spear if that's how you want to run. Definitely think the Chopperberry is a really good green there. Quaquaval, I do think is pretty good in this matchup. I think dealing with things like Dondozo and Latias is going to be a little annoying to deal with, even though he has to do a triple axle. It's still gonna be one of those things that we have to be careful. But I think offensively we can pressure them enough to where we can definitely get into some positions where I think Quavo is really good in this matchup. Ogerpog quarter, don't think it comes at all. It's really bad in most things that Dell has. Sableye, don't think it comes at all. I need to fucking stop yawning, man. Rotom Heat could have see a possibility being brought, but I don't know if it's that good of a mon to be brought this week. Definitely not a terrible mon for sure, so we'll just wait and see with that. Mew, I have no idea what kind of Terra you would go in this matchup. I can see a lot of variations of either Terra, like Terra Grass, I could see Terra Fairy, Terra Steel, Terra Ghost. There's a lot of ways I think Mew can go. But I do think Mew does come. I think Mew comes more so as a support role this week versus an offensive breaker. Crocodile, it makes sense to bring, but I don't realistically see it being brought into the 17 that Dell has. So it's gonna be really interesting to see how he does that. Ogerpon corner, like I said before, I I like it, but I don't think it's that good in this matchup. I don't think it really offers a lot to what Owen can do here. And then Shaman and Weezing. Shaman, I do think, has a fair shot to show up. Shaman's definitely a very annoying mon for Dell to kind of deal with in terms of its coverage. And I thought they still go. Weezing, definitely think Weezing has a fair shot of showing up. It's a really fantastic answer to a lot of things. He's a great Overpawn check. He's a great Lander's Teach check. He's an okay Urshifu check. Loses Psyche types, obviously, but overall, it's a really good offensive pivot. But if I have to pick anyone, I'm going to pick my man Dell here. I think Dell actually can pick up his first win this week with this team because Dell's team is just really getting to Owens. Owens going to have to have a little bit of struggle here dealing with Dell's pieces that he has to move. So, up next, we've got a real treat for all of you. It is Chimp versus Amol. And I'm excited for this. Now, spoiler alert, Chip has not really built these teams. He's had a friend build them for him and he just plays with them. Which, totally fair. Chip has not really gotten into the game of draft league with box and stuff like that. It's such a low time. But he still can play smart. He just gets given a team and he just knows how to play it. So definitely something to kind of keep note of that. But Amos's team, if we did not forget, is the Lugia Dialga Origin, Iron Bundle, Ursaluna Balloon, Terracomo O, Gengar, Umbreon, Superior, and Hatterene. Her Chimpax team is the Zekrom, Tornadus T, Terrappa Ghost, Tinkaton, Landorus Incarnate, Sinistcha, Overquill, Overrun, Heartflame, and Keldeo with Terra 20. So let's look at the matchup from Anil's perspective. Terra Torn kind of goes stupid. It has very only one flying resist on this entire team, and that is Dialga Origin. And that can easily be covered by a potential Terra Ground, Terra Fairy, or even a Terra Fight set that can really punish a lot of Pokemon on his team. Zekrom is damn near impossible to wall and not beat, as there's no good answer. The only good answer on the team is arguably going to be some of your models that can be built in physical defensive, such as things like Gengar and stuff. But who knows? I really do think, though, this is a really good Zekrom matchup. Ogerpon Heart Flame is pretty decently good here as well. It's a very strong Pokemon. Don't know if it's going to give you a guarantee, though, but I do think it's a very solid Pokemon for what it can do for his squad. Keldeo, very interesting mon this week. Do you think it's forced to be brought as he's a really good offensive check into things like the Yalga, Iron Bundle, and Blood Moon? And it's the younger end as well. Very strong Pokemon. Overquill, definitely think there's a good chance we could see it being brought as there is no hazard removal besides Magic Bounce from Evil's side. So definitely think the Overquill can definitely provide really good utility with its hazards, even in the face of a Magic Bounce which is just Hattering, which doesn't have the best matchup into this one. So Terrapagos. Terrapagos is very interesting here. I do think Terrapagos has a fair shot of showing up. In terms of what Terrapagos I see, it consistently goes on the Meteor Beam, Specs, Scarfed. Chimpek's been having some really cool builds where it's like a fully fizzed up turtle with enough speed, speed creeps. So definitely going to be one of those interesting ones for sure. Tinkaton may or may not come. Just kind of depends of how well Chimp wants to use it and what type of purpose he wants Chimp to have this one do. And then Sinistcha, don't realistically think it comes. It's not that great of a mon this matchup. It does not have really good ways to get around stuff. Plus, some of the Pokemon it can actually kind of take on, it loses to. So, definitely going to be one of those more annoying mons that we have in the future that may or may not be will be drafted because of how limited it can be. But looking at Amel's team, Lugia. Don't really think Lugia comes. Lugia's not that really good of a mon here. I do think Dialga, though, looks really strong here. Dialga Origins is super strong in this type of a matchup. I do think his combo all can go dummy stupid if it's positioned correctly for what it needs to do. Very strong mon for that. Um, Gengar's interesting because Gengar kind of is pretty good. Dual stab does phenomenal. There's only like one check in the game right now that he has to worry about. That is Overquill. So God, I'm so tired. I need to stop yawning. Hattering, don't really know if Hattering comes. Hattering's not that really that good in this type of a matchup. Umbreon, again, another Pokemon. I don't think it's honestly going to be that good, but it might be forced to be brought to be a really good defensive sponge for Angel's team. Ursaluna Blood Moon, do you think is a very good matchup here? Don't know if it's 100% set in stone if it's brought, but it definitely has a good chance to be something like AV or like Chomples, Pasho, something like that to be very guaranteed to own hit, trigger Revenge's back or tip us down with that Pokemon. So definitely something to keep an eye out for. The Superior could actually low-key sweep us. As soon as Torrentee tears out of this, and we don't have any way to stop stops Superior from just straight up sweeping us. Definitely gonna be a Pokemon we're gonna have to be very careful of. So definitely something that we'll have to keep an eye on. In terms of the matchup here, I didn't even mention anything about Iron Bundle. Iron Bundle took so long here. I'm gonna give it to Amel. Amel looks pretty good in this matchup, I think. With also some of his unpredictability, he's gonna catch Chimp completely off guard. So I think it's gonna give him the really big advantage that he's gonna need for this matchup. So up next, we've got my man D-Ray here. Man D-Ray here with a KYUREM White, Yacht Speed, Annihilate, below Ninetales, Terra Amendment, by the way. Stellarian, regular Slowking, Cyclozar, Blaziken, Sandy Shocks, Powaki, and Skuntank taking on Nexus in a actual BBR rematch from last week when this match didn't really matter for both of them. They were both out. But he has got Magearna, Dawnwings, Necrozma, Tinglu, Salamence, Terra Salamence, Sneasler, Uxie, Manaphy, Muck, and Obama Snow. Looking at D-Ray's team here, God damn, this KYUREM White looked absolutely terrifying. KYUREM White literally has no good switches at all on Nexus team besides potentially Super Spadef Benefi or Super Spadef Uzi. That is just about it. Otherwise, there's nothing that stops them. And this is a really interesting matchup because there's two Hail Setters here, and it's going to be potentially forcing both, or if not, convincing both that one can be brought, then one cannot. For this instance, I don't think Nexus can afford to bring his Terra Bomb Snow, where Terraments is going to really deploy double time for this week. So, don't think a Bomb Snow can come for that specific reason, and so I don't think it should be here. I do like the Deoxys Speed. Deoxys Speed is pretty good in this matchup as well. A mixed user of not a fully physical offensive Deoxys can be really good into Nexus. Annihilate is an absolute monster. Annihilate is going to really punish a lot of things on Nexus's team and can take advantage of a lot of sets and a lot of disadvantages that Nexus cannot deal with. The only problem the Nexus is going to deal with is how he's going to make sure Annihilate doesn't get any more gun usage because poor Annihilate has just not gone off his rocker, man. He has just not done anything to help him to get this case going for him. But who knows? Lola Ninetales, fantastic mon. Honestly, does really well into the matchup. I do think setting up Hail is really good for KYUREM, as I do think that potentially Specs or non Life Orb variant, or I guess Boots to play it safe, is a really good set. Slow King regular could see it broad. Don't know 100%, but it's definitely not a bad mon, as it does kind of help the fact that Nexus does have two poison types. And he can use Trick Room to reverse Trick Room, so he can kind of make sure Trick Room can either work for him or take advantage of him without taking away Trick Room. Cyclizar, it's kind of a bad Pokemon. Not going to use it. Blaziken's interesting here. Blaziken definitely is a really good mon. I'd say if he gets an SD off and he gets some speed boost going, it kind of doesn't have any switches to its dual stab plus potential coverage. But overall, this is a super strong mon, and they can definitely come to this matchup. Sandy Shocks, you better believe it, he's coming back this week. Sandy Shocks is super strong into a lot of things that Nexus has. And his overall just really good Pokemon. That helps him to get this hazards up is also really annoying since Nexus has no way to remove those hazards. So the fact that we can see like a lead Sandy shot or just a lead Dio and just get them spikes up and just be willing to go 5v6 for this matchup and just take advantage of all the opportunities you got there, it's just definitely worth it. Flaky, it's not coming. Skuntank, it might come, but it's no real big davy. Against D-Ray, Magirna is a massive threat. Magirna really can check things offensively if it starts getting itself rolling and starts pushing itself to do a lot. I think Dogwings Sakrama actually has a really good debut matchup here. I think Dogwings is super strong to a lot of things that D-Ray has no switch-ins to. I think Ting-Lu, very annoying mon for D-Ray to deal with, but I do not think it is good enough to be brought this matchup as it just body bag by a lot of things. Terraments, it's coming, baby. Terraments is super strong. I actually do not know what Terra type he goes with here. I do think there's a couple of options, but I don't realistically know what option he's going to finalize up. Terraments is super strong. Fantastic Pokemon. Sneasler, another fantastic Pokemon. I think Sneasler is another good bring this week, as it's just a super strong breaker. It does a lot of work for what you want it to do, and it's just a super strong Pokemon. Really love Sneasler. Absolutely good Mon here. Uxie, definitely can see Uxie as a good, really defensive pivot. Also, Stealth Rocker, U-turn pivot as well. It's overall just a really solid mon. Not bad at all, but it's mon not favorite, but it's a good Pokemon nonetheless. Manaphy is also really good here. I like kind of a bulky Manaphy spread, but I think along the lines of max speed plus max HP. Within like very little special investment with the KYUREM White, it would put it in range of a +3 hit if we had Rocks up, but we don't. But basically, Manaphy though can do a lot of work, and I do think Manaphy's a really good bring to this matchup. Muck, don't think you bring Muck unless you're really desperate for something. But I overall don't think you bring it. And like I said, I don't think you bring alone Bottle Snow. It's just not that good of a one. In terms of this matchup, though, I think I'm actually going to give it to my guy Nexus here. I think Nexus's team just offensively pressures D-Ray a lot, and I think can put into a ton of work for this matchup. So definitely something to note there. Up next, we have got Seabad taking on my goat Kyle A. Seabad's team is Deoxys, Garchomp, Clefable, Indeedee, Iron Hands of Terra, Corviknight, Metagross, Chi-Yu, Araquanid, and Drifblim, while Kyle's team is the Chimpao, Grid Tusk, Ditto, Terra, both Terra and Terra Iron Moth, Sylveon, Rotom Wash, Arbalava, Jirachi, Spidops, Trapinch, and the Giratina Origin, or regular, whatever it's called. Looking at this matchup, Deoxys is very annoying for Child. Deoxys is definitely a very annoying mon. Obviously, a big Revenger in things like the Shinpao, but Deoxys is a very annoying mon. Clefable put its team on its back last week and on week 3, and definitely kind of proved why it's a good Pokemon. So, definitely a Pokemon we cannot sleep on this week. Garchomp, very annoying mon as well. Offensively pressures a lot of things and can do a lot of work for us here. Indeedee, only if it's really there to help with the Deoxys. Otherwise, I think Iron Hands. Don't know realistic with Terra. I think Terra Fairy would probably make the most sense, or Terra Poison. Maybe even Terra Fight to an extent. But it's definitely a Pokemon that can provide a lot of offensive capability and has single-handedly won games for people. So really a strong Pokemon there. Corviknight, do think you're forced to bring Corviknight, even though there is Supercell Slam and there is an Iron Moth and a little Mosh. I think you're forced to bring it to really kind of defensively check a lot of things here. But I wouldn't be surprised if he didn't bring it. Chi-Yu offensively is very annoying. A Ruination set could actually be really threatening to things like something like the Sylveon, and also being able to taunt, shut that down. Who knows? But very annoying mon to deal with this week. Araquanid, definitely could see Araquanid makes a lot of sense. Kyle only has one removal option, so I do think Webs could make sense here if he feels like the removal is not going to fit. But it's a good, strong Pokemon nonetheless. Araquanid has really good switch-ins at all. And then lastly, a Drifblim with Terra. We saw how he did without it, I think, without Terra. But now he's using it with Terra, so let's see if he can unlock the floodgates and find the power to this full power in the I don't remember what it was. Oh, the balloons, stuff like that will be. With Kyle's team, Chimpao is the biggest threat to Chase that he's ever seen in his life. I think Great Tusk is a monstrous Pokemon. It's going to be interesting to see if Kyle brings Ditto, because Ditto is definitely a wild card for some team like Chase's, which is very interesting. You know what I'm saying? Uh, Iron Moth. Iron Moth, I absolutely love this matchup. I can see something like Fire just get boosted off attacks, which is really great. In terms of other Terras, I don't really know what else I want per se, but I don't know, it's tough to call. It's tough to call. Sylveon, definitely think Sylveon comes. Sylveon's a really good mon. Obviously, Metagross could be a problem, but I think we have a good answer to Metagross to keep this bring in. The Rotom Wash definitely gets broad. The Rotom Wash is really annoying for us to deal with. Arboliva doesn't really come. Jirachi could come, but I don't think it's really likely. Spite Ups, let's be honest, is like I'm going to see a Seafog now. Very limited matchup here for Kyle here, but I think both Kyle and Steve have good teams. I do think I'm going to give matchup advantage to Kyle, though. Kyle has just a really good offensive team that can really push itself forward and really offensively check and push hard against other things that Chase can have. But yeah, that is going to be the pick'em. Sorry, I was really in and out of the pick'ems throughout the video. You guys may have not noticed, but you'll obviously see it in some of the snippets I'll have here. Doing these definitely get tiring and exhausting, especially when I wake up early in the morning and I stay up for such a long period of time. So I'm gonna go relax, go chill out, and hopefully you guys enjoy the pick'em. So if you guys did, leave a like if you haven't already, subscribe if you're new, join the for a great day, because you're thrilled with King of the Crew. And with that being said, I will see you guys next time. Bye bye.